Daniel Baptist, all those watching the devotions. Glad to have you tuning in on Friday morning and appreciate the goodness of God. Looking forward to Sunday, what God's going to do in our hearts and lives on Sunday morning, Sunday night. I hope that you will pray for the service and ask the Lord to bless it. Yesterday morning, we started a devotion out of Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16, and we looked at salt in verse 13 and how it speaks of our influence. Let's read verses 14 through 16. After he compares us to salt, he says, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick. And it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." And we talked about how salt speaks of our influence and how it preserves and how it's pleasant and how it produces thirst. And God says that's something we can relate to. But if salt speaks of our influence, God said we're to be light. And light speaks of illumination. We have a responsibility to illuminate some things in this world. And he says that we are light, and that shows us some things. 3 things that I want to give you. First of all, light dispels darkness. You know what will take care of the darkness of this world, the darkness of people's heart, the darkness of sin, the darkness of society, the darkness of Satan's troubles? It is light. God said that he has come and that he's give us light, and he wants us to have light, and he's give us life everlasting, and he is light. And so God help us to understand that the best way to dispel darkness is the light of God. And I'm afraid many times we don't allow ourselves to be light. If we're not living clean, if we're not living right, if we're not living holy, if we're not doing the things that God tells us to do, then we are adding darkness to this world. And this world doesn't need darkness. If there's ever a day it needs light, it's now. And so God help us to dispel darkness. Are you adding to the darkness or are you subtracting? Well, preacher, I'm doing my best, but my light's not bright. You know, the darker it is, it doesn't take a whole lot of light to make a difference. God help us to dispel darkness. But not only does light dispel darkness, but light displays what was not seen. You know, God said in this verse that we're to let our light shine before men so that they may see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. In other words, as we live for God, as we're light in this world, as we please him and do the things the Word of God says do, we manifest the Father to the world. You know what this world desperately needs to see? They need to see God. You want to know how they see God? In what they see in you and what they see in me. No wonder people have an awful image of God. No wonder they think he's hateful and vengeful and arrogant. No wonder they think he's unloving and unkind. I see so many Christians and so many people that say they're saved and love the Lord, but they're not being light. They are not displaying what's not seen. God said that we ought to show him by how we live. Do people see God in you? Do they see the right kind of God? Do they see a loving, patient, merciful, forgiving God that wants to save people and help people? Or do they see an arrogant, stuck up, high-minded person that is so better than everyone else that thinks that they can't reach down to a sinner? God help us to display to what people can't see in God. And then thirdly, light destroys fear. You ever go in the room and have to turn the light out when you was a kid? And you reached as far as you could to turn it out and jump in the bed? But when the light was on, you wasn't scared. You know, as we give light to the world, we can show people there's a better way. Even during this virus, they don't have to fear death or this virus or anything else because God is real. May we be that light to the world. God bless you. I hope you have a great weekend.